Good morning. It nearly wasn't well. It was nearly a very late one this morning. Last night I thought, do you know what? I'm getting used to this getting up earlier, and I'm going to be absolutely fine. I'll not set my alarm, and I'll go to bed early. So I think I was in bed for about 11 o'clock. Fell asleep pretty much straight away, and then I woke up and it was still really dark. So I thought it must be 4 o'clock in the morning. So I didn't even bother looking at the clock until it got to. Felt like 5 minutes later, looked at the clock and it was 6:15. So quarter to seven. So I was nearly very, very late this morning, but I made it here. Eventually, I made it here. I want to play you something. We are going to do a bit of Bible later on, but I want to play you something first, which I found. It's not religious. It's really patriotic. It's really, really powerful. It's made of it's AI. You know. Trigger warning or whatever you want to say this morning. It's an AI thing. I think everybody else has slept in this morning as well. But I'm going to play this because I thought this was absolutely fantastic. You're going to love this.
hope. Be strong. Have faith. Come together as one. Walk forward with pride. Walk forward with pride.
Well, there you go, guys. Let me know. Let me exactly. Let me know what you think of that. I love that. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, and a great way, a really great way to start the day and wake everybody up. I thought it was beautiful, and whoever did that, I don't know who did it. I've never seen them, but I think that caught something of what Britain's about, didn't it? And the lefties will hate it. The goose stepping. White supremacist nutcase will hate it. The Islamists will hate it. The communists will hate it because it's just a feel-good thing. And none of them people want us feeling good. None of those people want us feeling victorious. And I think I'm going to be honest. I'm going to do some Bible now, and then we'll have a look at some stuff that's happening in the news today. But I really do think that that there's a lot of people on our side that are way too negative. And I'm not in any way belittling the problems that our nation faces. And again, like I keep saying this over and over again, if people knew the problems I face on a daily basis, you know, I wouldn't be coming here with a positive smile if I looked at things in the natural realm, in the flesh, or whatever you want to say. I'd be going, my goodness, everything's terrible, everything's dreadful. But I'm not looking at the world through those eyes anymore. I'm looking at the world through God's eyes. And I know what God says in his word. And I'm going to read some verses that I want everybody. It's Friday. I want this to be as much as possible. I want this to be a feel-good show. Now, I'm not in any way burying my head in the sand. I'm a very practical person when it comes to what we need to do and the problems that we face as a country and the problems we face ourselves in life. But I'm going to be positive. And yeah, and you'll see from these Bible verses that the Word of God's positive too. The Word of God is not a book to make people negative and whingy and moany. No, it's a positive book, and it's a positive book because God is a positive God. You better believe that. Let's have a look at what we got here. I just want to grab this. Okay. Right, let's have a look. Okay, so here we go. This is from Romans, and I don't think I can make that any bigger, but with my failing eyesight, even I can read it. So you probably can't read it on a phone, so I'm going to read it out. This is from Romans, the book of Romans, that's in the New Testament, and it's The Apostle Paul, who, man, if we think we've got problems, you want to see the life the Apostle Paul had. And this is what he wrote. This is Romans 8, verse 31. What should we say then? What should we say to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? That one verse there, when you look at what had happened to the Apostle Paul at this stage in his life, he'd been on trial, he'd been imprisoned, he'd been beaten, he'd been whipped, he'd been shipwrecked. From what we can gather, he'd lost his family. He was a man that was him and God. It was just him and God and the people that were following God with him. He had nobody. He was completely on his own. In human terms, he'd lost everything. He'd lost his position in Judaism. He'd lost his position in society. He was running around with all these people that believed in this man that had been raised from the dead. If you look at the Apostle Paul's life in human terms, why would he be so positive? Why would he be so positive? If God is for us, who can be against us? Now, this is what he says. He who did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? That's a pretty good promise. That's a promise for the Christians in the United Kingdom. Every single Christian in the United Kingdom, that's a promise for us. And all our past, all the things that we've done, it's all in the rearview mirror. If we've repented and we turned away from that, it's all gone. It's all history. Who shall bring a charge against God's elect? It's God who justifies. Who is he who condemns? It's Christ who died, and furthermore is also risen, who is even at the right hand of God, who also makes intercession for us. So who can condemn any one of us? If God's for you, nobody can stand against you. That's the whole point. If God's for us, nobody can stand against you. If Christ died for our sins, nobody can take your sins and throw them up in your face every single second of every day. They can do it, but it has no effect because you've been forgiven by God, because you're loved by God, because Christ died for every single Christian that's in this chat today. Christ died for every single one of you. Every single person that's saved, born again, following Jesus, Christ died for you. Then he says this, who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, and Paul had been through tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword. Paul had been through all those things. And our country's going to go through those things possibly. But our country's a Christian country. Now, that's not going to mean that we win, because if all the Christians aren't being Christians, like I wasn't, and all the Christians aren't living the life that God's called them to live, then we're not going to win anything. But if we submit ourselves to God, if we put on sackcloth and ashes, if we get like people were in Nineveh and we repent and we turn away from all the evil things we've done as a nation and as Christian people, and we stand up against all the evils that's happened, and I'm not going to go into them, we all know what I'm talking about, in the last 50, 60 years. As it is written, for your sake, we are killed all day long. We are accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Now, this is the verse. This is the verse for people in the United Kingdom. All these people that have been negative, all these people are saying, oh, the country's finished. And I'm going to go into why the country's not finished in a minute. It's partly because of this. Well, in fact, it's totally because of this. But I believe we've got a God-given plan of how we can save our country. Verse 37, yet in all these things, we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I'm persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature. So well, it says created thing here, but in the King James Version, it says creature. Nor any other created thing shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus. So there is absolutely no way that we should be negative. There's no way we should be worrying about what happens next. There's no way we should be panicking about anything. Not in the least. And again, when I was watching, I'm not going to say who it was, right? But I was watching a very, very prominent I'm talking someone with a massive reach, okay? And someone yeah, I mean, well, you could see that coming, couldn't you guys? You could see that coming. You can see that coming. We need to pray for Danny. We need to pray for Danny. I mean, the reality is they'll probably try and charge him with criminal damage, even though he was trying to interrupt a criminal enterprise with Danny. But getting back to the point in hand, the reality is about this, okay? We can do all the motivational videos like the one that I did there earlier, that one that we played. We can go and do activism. We can do crazy stuff. And I've done plenty of crazy stuff since I've been in the movement and, stood against Hamas marches on my own, stood against Hamas marches with 8 people, put myself in danger in various different ways and different places for the sake of the movement. But the truth is that the only way that we can solve this is a change in the culture and a change in the politics. And all of that, culture and politics, are all downstream of the ideology, the belief system, the religion of the nation. If the religion of the nation has been captured, if the state has been captured, and here's the thing, here's the good thing about this, but here's the bad thing about this. If you have a small group of very, very highly organized radicals who decide to take over the country, like the communists have, like the Fabians have, like the Muslim Brotherhood are trying to do, like the Islamists are trying to do, if you have a very, very small yet highly organized cadre of people who know exactly what they're doing, they know how to play the game, they know how to manipulate the political system, they know how to manipulate people's emotions, they control the media, they control the government, they control the judiciary. The people are really hamstrung unless there is a political force with a lot of power behind it, and there's no greater power in the universe than the power of God. So what we need is a political force, an ideological force that will take back everything for Christ, that will take back the institutions for Christ, that will take back the media for Christ, that will take back the church for Christ, that will change laws, that will win elections, that will replace these people. And now the order of march on this, and like I say, all the activism that people are doing, that Danny's doing, that's great, it's brave, but it is not going to save the country. And people, listen, YouTubers, I feel like grabbing hold of all these people with millions of followers and shaking them until their brains rattle about in their heads and knock some sense into them. Get them in the dojo or in the boxing ring and knock some sense into them, because we have all the tools in the box. But the problem is the vast majority of these YouTubers that are making a lot of money, I mean a lot of money doing this, they're not, like me and FastJet. I mean, FastJet's getting nothing from his videos. I'm not getting anything from my videos. But there's a lot of people out there that are getting a lot of money, and they haven't got with the program, and they know what the answer is, because they've been in meetings with me when they've been discussing what the answer is. And I'm talking about everybody needs to get behind this program, this plan. And the plan is this: it is get Advance UK elected to be government of this country. That is the plan. And that comes out of a religious revival where people get woken up spiritually. And again, it puts a massive amount of responsibility on Ben and the people around Ben. And so my message to people in Advance is, this is, whatever you guys are doing, do it more. That's my message to the leadership Advance. Whatever you're doing, do it more. However many days you're working a week, double that. Even if you're working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, double that to 14 days a week, 24 hours a day, because that's what's needed. This is about saving our country. And we can have that victory that we read about in Romans chapter 8. We can have that victory, but we need to, and everybody in the comments, This is a team effort. I am literally a nobody, right? That's why I can talk like this. Okay. You know, so do you know what, Party Pants? I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I agree with that. There's somebody there attacking Paul. I don't agree with that because Paul is with the program. So don't come on my channel and attack Paul Thorpe because I don't agree with it. Well, you can come on if you want and do it. We do believe in freedom of speech, but I don't agree with you, mate. I think Paul is doing the right thing. Everybody else, I'll tell you that the YouTubers that are doing the most, the big YouTubers that are doing the most for Advance are Jeff Taylor and Paul Thorpe. Nobody else is pushing Advance. I mean, nobody else in the big blogosphere, the vlogosphere, or whatever you want to call it. And they need to be massively. They need to be massive. Tommy's obviously done the come out very publicly for Advance as well. But more needs to be done by everybody, and I mean everybody. Okay. And if people go, okay, it's we don't want to be talking about this all the time. We need to be talking about all this time. Look, let's get it right. Ben Habib got cancelled because he aligned himself with our movement, specifically with Tommy. Okay. Now, every single person that speaks at those Tommy events, in my opinion, should be backing Ben. We all know what Farage is like. We know what Farage has done to us historically. We've seen the way they behave towards Rupert Lowe, the way they behave towards Ben Habib, and the way they behave towards countless other people, smaller voices, smaller names in the party that don't particularly have a voice. They are the establishment. They are just changing the rosette on the pig. That's all they're doing. And they're not going to do what needs to be done. Okay. And do you know what, Jenny? I really, really appreciate that. Thanks very much for that. And again, I am not falling out with anyone in the vlogosphere. But you're mentioning Sargon there. I know Carl. He's a really good lad. I really like him. Okay. But I think we need to be going on all these guys' channels as viewers and saying, guys, not being rude, because what we don't want to do is have a big falling out, not being rude. But we need to be going on other people's channels and saying, guys, get behind Advance, back Advance, back Advance. If we're on all their channels, it's like anything. If we're making noise from the ground up, then that's what's going to make the difference. And is Advance going to be perfect? Is Advance going to get everything right? Are there going to be mistakes? Of course there are going to be mistakes. And that's where the prayer comes in. And that's where, I'm going to tell you something. All of us can get knocked off course. All of us can get knocked off course. And, Akkad, my man, when are you joining Advance? Yeah, exactly. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. We know that Farage is not the answer. Okay, we know he's not the answer, and we know that. And I was talking to a really good mate of mine in Advance, and I've got other mates in Advance. Sorry, in Advance, in Reform. I was talking to a mate of mine in Reform, and I said, "Look, why don't you come over?" Oh, well, if we get 400 seats and we get a massive majority, everything will change. He says, "How will it when you don't have control of the party? How will it when you don't, And again, we've got 3 years to do this, but we've got to start now. We've got to really, really start now. So again, I'm going to go back to this, and I say this every single day on my channel, multiple times a day. And I know a lot of people will get bored, but do you know what actually makes you an expert at something? Repetition, 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 and correction, correction, correction. If you're doing something and you're doing it wrong and you're doing it all the time, you're still going to end up with the wrong result. If you're doing something and you're doing it right and you're correcting and self-correcting and having people saying this is the way to do it, and you're always bringing the skill back into the correct manner, then that repetition will mean you end up with something that's actually very, very efficient. Okay. So my repetition is this. Very, very simple. You all know. If anyone knows what I'm going to say next, write it in the comments just to see if I'm actually getting through. Buy leaflets from Advance. That's one of the things, 100%. But choose your monster carefully. That's You've got a very good point there, Barry. You've got a very good point. Richard nearly did. Richard nearly did what? I'd get advanced UK on every chat I'm watching. Brilliant. You see, that's what we need. Get advanced UK in every single chat that you're in. Just put join advance, vote advance. Yes, is the Bible the way to do it? I believe it is. Real Digital, 100%. I believe the Bible is very important. But this is what I'm going to say, okay? For me personally, the most important thing is getting right with God. And that's a constant battle. We have, when you're trying to live a life of faith, you'll have wobbles. I had a wobble very recently, because things just get to you and we can all have wobbles, okay? But to me, be grounded in the Bible, be grounded in the Word of God, be grounded in your faith. That's the first thing for me personally. I know not everyone that does this is a Christian. Not everyone that's going to save this country is going to be a Christian either. There'll be a lot of atheists. If there was a conflict over this country, there'll be a lot of atheists would be laying their lives down. But the old saying that there's no atheist in a foxhole is very, very true. But what we're trying to do is do this peacefully and democratically and save our country from the communists, the Islamists, the globalists, and the fascists. Okay, that's all we're trying to do. Nothing major. So get your faith and your ideology right. Then sign the pledge, because the pledge is about you. Actually, if you read the pledge, you'll realize it's about ideology that is based on Christian values. Okay, you don't have to be a Christian to sign the pledge. You don't have to be a Christian to do any of this. But I think it would be massively helpful. But get your ideology right. Sign the pledge, which codifies, I believe, the ideology of our movement. It writes the ideology of our movement down. Register to vote. Massively, massively important. Start voting in local elections. If there's any local elections coming up, get used to going to the polling station and voting. It's like anything. A lot of people, they're nervous about doing these things, and that's understandable. It's like when people first go to church. You've never done it before. You're not used to what's happening. People are nervous. It's exactly the same with getting involved in the political process. But it is for us. We are the people. We are the demos. We are the people that can save this country. And I don't think we need millions of people leading the movement, but what we do need is millions of people supporting the movement. Okay, because if there's leaders there and nobody's following them, well, they're not leaders because they're not leading anything or anybody. If there's leaders there and people are following them, then they are leaders. Okay. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that, English Lioness. I 100% agree. That is fantastic. We had our first advanced meeting for my town last night. Not many of us, but we were determined to keep pushing. And that's what you want. It's that small cadre of determined people who will do what needs to be done. And we've got them in Northern Ireland. There's about 10 people that I can think of in my head right now that would be brilliant at organizing. They would be passionate. They would be leaders. And we've got to utilize them. We've got to utilize them, and one of the things I am worried about every single political party, it cannot be dominated by a middle-class managerial class. This has got to be a ground-up movement as well. Yes, we need those people with skills and talents that people like me don't have, right? In fact, I've pretty much got every skill and talent. No, I'm only joking. But we need people that have got those skills and talents that not everybody has, right? So we sign the pledge. We register to vote. This is even before you join Advance. You join Advance UK. We need 1 million people in Advance UK. And not just 1 million people joining, but 1 million people who are activists, who are on fire, who are going at this day and night saying, you get up in the morning, you open your eyes, you think, how am I going to save my country? You get up in the morning, you open your eyes, you think, how am I going to make things better? How am I going to bring this back? How am I going to help my family? How am I going to succeed in business so that I can have money and time to do what I need to do? How am I going to help my family who are struggling? How am I going to help my children? How am I going to help my grandchildren? That's what we should every single morning when we're waking up in the morning. And for years, when I was involved in doing, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Apologize for that. Too much dust in this thing. But anybody that is a hindrance to the movement, no matter who they are. If they are hindering the movement, we need to be utterly ruthless as well. If I become a hindrance, and there's times when I have become a hindrance to the movement, you've got to step back. You've got to step back and you've got to refocus. And we've got to, if people are becoming a hindrance to the movement, we've got to tell them, you're actually not helping here, fella. What you're doing is not right. You don't do it publicly, I don't think, but you say you're not doing things, just, let's get a grip of this. But when it comes to supporting Advance, I will say it publicly. To me, every single YouTuber should be saying, let's get behind Advance. Look at how much Reform have grown in 6 months. Sorry, in a year. Their growth seems to be stagnating now. But look how much they grew at the time of the general election and just before the general election. And most of that was because there was a groundswell of people in the country going, we need change. That groundswell of people was at the Tommy Robinson rallies, at the Unite the Kingdom rallies. That groundswell of people were taking to the streets and doing protests outside migrant hotels. We've been doing them since 2020. I mean, Robert Jenrick was threatening to set, just a point about Robert Jenrick, right? When the protests started happening outside migrant hotels in 2022, was it, or 23? Can't remember, it's 22 or 23. Whenever it started, right? I think it was 23. March 23, as far as I remember. Yeah, it was, right? Whenever we started doing that, Robert Jenrick, at the request of a very, very liberal, slimy, horrible slug of a local MP that we had then, our local MP now is fantastic, but we had an absolute slug of an MP then. And basically, he went to Robert Jenrick and said, what are you going to do about these people? And Robert Jenrick said, oh, don't worry, the security services and the police are looking at them. So Jenrick, who's the great champion, and this is why you can't that there is something that the left always said, which always rang very true to me. And I'm not a leftist, and I've never have been a leftist, but the left always said this: never trust a Tory. And I think there's something in that, because Advance are not Tories. In fact, the vast majority of Advance are people like me and you, because it's a completely new party with new people. Jenrick was willing to set the security services and the police on us. So anyway, getting back to what we need to do. I know I always go off on tangents, but this is really important. Get behind Advance UK. Register to vote. Sign the pledge. Get involved in activism, whether it's online. We can do so much online. Just sharing this video, okay? If it gets through to one person, I'm doing videos 7 days a week. I'm going to try and up the live streams to two live streams a day. I'm going to try and do one in the morning, one in the evening, and then I'm going to try and get another video in there about other bits and pieces and other issues that the country's facing. So we absolutely need to have massive change. And what Ben has said, there's always the thing with Advance about people saying, well, you're going to split the vote. Ben has said that he will not do anything to stop a right-wing government taking over the country at the next election. So, but the best position that Advance can be in is be a very strong position where if we need to all sit down, and that means, even though I don't trust the Conservative Party, I don't trust Robert Jenrick, I don't trust them, but you've got Suella Braverman, you've got Liz Truss, people like that who I think have turned a corner and have changed, and maybe Jenrick's changed. Anyway, we might have to sit down with Restore. Well, we have to sit down with Rupert. Rupert should be a member of Advance. That's another one that just fries my brain. Why Rupert isn't Advance standing next to Ben, I do not know. Egos, man, egos. Anyway, so we might have to trust Restore. We might have to try and pull as many people from Reform as we possibly can. But whatever happens, there will be a right-wing government at the next election. There has to be. There absolutely has to be. But Advance, because of Advance's integrity and policy, Advance will absolutely be a part of that if we all get behind them. And what I would love to see, Advance get so strong that Advance sweeps the board and not Reform. And I think there's so much is going to happen between now and then that Farage and Advance, they're all over the place on all sorts of policies. Ben was saying to me when we did the interview, Northern Ireland, Farage doesn't have a clue about Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland is very important. The whole of the UK is very important. Scotland, they're recruiting members of the SNP or ex-members of the SNP to be members of Advance. Now, that's a pretty big... I know people can have road to Damascus experiences. The Apostle Paul that we were talking about earlier did. But people from the SNP joining Reform, people from the SNP joining Reform. Advance has a political ideology. It is based on the pledge. We've really got to do this, guys. We've really got to do this. Okay. Advance UK is literally the first party ever to put the power back in the hands of the people, the majority of which are UK working class. Absolutely. Paul, I asked to get the same. They always say it make you depressed. My reply is no, it wakes me up and makes me passionate. I love Paul's epistles. Moves me to tears the fact that he persecuted the church and after his conversion suffered for Christ. And this is the story of every single genuine believer. Liz, I've been banned. Yes. Don't share me off. Don't share me on Facebook. Share advanced stuff. Now, I'm not gonna. I have people working on Facebook. I'm not going to say who. I mentioned one of them yesterday, but I have people working for me on Facebook, doing stuff and sharing the message that we want to get across, which is not about me. It's not a me. I don't care about me or what people think of me. It's about getting the message about advance out. So on Facebook, share all the advanced stuff. Just share advanced stuff. There's a group called the UK Freedom Movement on Facebook, which allegedly has something to do with the UK Freedom Movement. So join that group on Facebook. There's a pledge group on Facebook. Go and search for the UK Freedom Movement and for the pledge on Facebook, and share any advanced stuff that you've got. Thanks, Linda. Appreciate that. It's on a list, joining advance. Come on, Paula, just do it. Just go and pay your 20 quid and become a member. Buy the leaflets from Advanced UK shop and spread the word, guys. Leaflets. I think social media is the game that we need to be at, as well as leaflets. Leaflets are important, 100%, but so social media. I am not a leaflet guy, okay? I'm not going to spend time going around the doors, putting leaflets through doors, and you might say, oh, that's terribly lazy, Richard. Because of what I do, I can't physically, I might go out and do it once or twice, but it's not going to be my main thing. But a lot of people, it will be their main thing. And it's a very important thing. It's a very important ground game. Just knocking the door, handing people a leaflet, standing in the town centre on a Saturday afternoon, handing people advanced leaflets. Give them a gospel track with them as well. But, oh, guys. So can the links be put in for pledge? Yes. Do you know what, guys? I'll do that. I can't do it today because it's difficult enough to try to do what I'm doing. Okay. But I will do that. I will actually put, remind me about the Ken. If you're down tonight, mate, remind me about that. Tonight, 7:00, Marine Court Hotel in Bangor. Please get there. Please be down. And we really need to keep those protests going. And yeah, the pledge.org.uk. Brilliant. Thanks for that, Claire Bear. We need to be doing this. Danny Tomo has been arresting fans for sabotage on the boat. Let that sink in. It was bound to happen. You know, it was bound to happen. I knew that was going to happen because what they'll say, it's criminal damage. Even though they're breaking up a criminal enterprise, we know what the state's like. And yeah, it was what. Yeah, my goodness. But again, I'm not being funny, guys, right? But these things are a distraction. Okay. Listen, Tusi should be talking about advance. Absolutely. What I would suggest, everybody that's in my chat, go onto Tusi's channel next time he's broadcasting and just start putting vote advance, join advance in the comments. And same with the other ones that aren't supporting them. Same with Sargon. You know, and these are friends of mine. You know, and I think it's really important. I think it's really important. I do appreciate that, Sharon. Thanks very much for that. Thank you. We have advance leaflets at work for our customers to take. Exactly, Clive. Exactly. You know, but look, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. And obviously, let's pray for Danny. Let's pray that Danny gets out. Oh, well done, Farty Pants. Yeah, everybody. In fact, Farty Pants, if you share the link to that that YouTube that's not YouTube, that Facebook page, that'd be great. But what I want to do as well, guys, we've got the pledge. We've got people signing up on the pledge. I'm going to really start pushing the UK freedom movement. It's a project that I started in 2018. I still believe it's as valid today. In fact, it's more valid today than it was then, because it's about freedom. It was about Brexit, and I could see what was happening in 2018. That's when they started talking about this internet harms legislation. That Nadine Dorries, let's think about this, guys. Okay, think about this. If you're a Reform voter, right? Nadine Dorries is the author of the internet harms legislation. She authored it with Hope Not Hate, right? And she's in Reform. She's one of the big. She's going to be one of the big guns in Reform. I think she's dopey, right? I think Nadine is dopey. She's a bimbo, in my opinion, right? I think she's thick as mince, as they say, right? Let her listen to her interview. She didn't have a clue. She didn't have a clue. I'm not going to. Goodness knows how she got to be a minister in the Tory government. It shows you the caliber of what's going on there, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. She's the one. She's the one that's behind the internet harms legislation. Anyway, if you want, do we want to have a laugh? We've had something very, very serious. I want to play a little video, right? It's a parody video. It's a bit of fun. It's harmless. It's Nadine Dorries has put this video into my talking about bimbos. Nadine Dorries has put this video into my consciousness, and everybody's going to say, "Oh, Richard, you've been very sexist talking about bimbos and all the rest of it." But she is. That's just what it is. She's the one that's responsible for this internet harms legislation, which could have actually been a good piece of legislation to protect vulnerable children, right? 100%. But what do? They slipped all the stuff in to get rid of people that were opposing the blob, that were opposing the communist takeover of our country, that are opposing the Islamist takeover of our country. Anyway, there's been another influx of migrants, and we've got video footage of it. This is just a bit of fun, by the way. Another video of migrants. There's been footage come in, and it seems this migrant invasion seems to be splitting the patriot movement. It seems to be splitting the pink ladies aren't supporting this. The pink ladies are against this migrant invasion, but it looks like football lads and veterans, unfortunately, are supporting this migrant invasion. So here's some footage that I got from the beaches yesterday. So it's a bit of fun, guys. It's a bit of fun.
On our way to steal your job. We are on our way to steal your jobs, benefits, and houses.
We are so close to the UK now. We're all so excited for our adventure. I really hope someone welcomes me into their home.
As you can see, several boats have now landed on our shores. Local men can be seen assisting some of the incoming Swedish migrants as they disembark.
Now this is an invasion I can fully get behind.
What made you come down here today?
Normally I'm against this kind of thing, but today I fully support integration.
So there we go, guys. The movement split down the middle. The pink ladies don't want the Swedish migrants coming in. All the football lads, all the veterans, they seem to be getting behind it. That's what the deep state does. They've split the movement. They've finally managed to do it. They've split the movement. I thought that would cheer everybody up, because we can get very, very down and depressed, and we've got to have a bit of humor. But here's the thing about that, right? That little video, I don't know whether a lefty made it as a parody against the right, or whether it was somebody on our side. Obviously not a lefty, because the lefties don't have a sense of humor. But here's the thing about that, right? If the people coming to our country were genuine refugees, right, that were Christians, that shared our values, and maybe as if they all look like the women coming off that boat, but if they shared our values and they believed what we believed, we wouldn't have a problem if they were genuine refugees and genuine migrants. But the problem that we've got is, and that's why that video, even though it's funny, it's a bit of fun, it's a bit of banter, but the reality is, the people that are coming to our country would prey on women like that, and they have been in Sweden. And that's why it is a parody that Sweden will probably be sending refugees to America, because they're not going to come to England, because Sweden has been taken over. Germany has been taken over. And all those countries that are full of gentle, kind men and women, the hobbits, the people from the Shire, all those people are vulnerable to these predatory men that have come across on dinghies. Now, at the minute, our country is not lost. Our country is still savable. It's still salvageable. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's so true. Oh yes, guys, that's a point. Guys, do me a favor. Get across to Counter Media, okay? I know most of you that are commenting here probably have already, but if you're watching this, please subscribe to Counter Media. That's a monetized channel. I am not getting a lot of money off it, but it's better than getting nothing. But don't get me wrong, if you want to watch my stuff on the Richard Inman channel as well, that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying leave the Richard Inman channel. Keep subscribed to that one. It's never going to be monetized, but it's a good, strong channel because there's like nearly 50,000 people on there, but it's not growing that much because obviously I'm trying to get people across to Counter Media. I've got other channels that I'm going to be pushing. I've got a UK Freedom Movement channel that I'm going to be pushing on YouTube. I've got UK Freedom Movement on Facebook. So I am going to be trying to do even more stuff than I'm doing. And I'm actually in the process of redoing the UK Freedom Movement website. And what I'll do once that's done, I'll drop the link in a video next week. I still want to push Where Are the Men of England? Before I go, will I play do we want to listen to Where Are the Men of England again? Let me know. If you want Where Are the Men of England, let me know in the comments and I'll play it before we go. Pretty sure Five Nights would be cancelled if that's what's coming off the boats. I'm not sure it would be cancelled, but there you go. Oh, you can always count on me to lower the tone, can't you? Okay, we're going to play Where Are the Men of England. Let's play Where Are the Men of England. Do you know what? We haven't even done any news today, and I don't think it mattered that we didn't do any news apart from the Swedish migrants. We haven't done any news whatsoever. Let me try and find Where Are the Men of England, and we'll play that. And let's have a look. Here we go. And this is the new version. But guys, I really want to push that the one that's with the record company, because if we can get that to #1 at Christmas, now we've got a little bit of time, but it would really send a massive message out to the establishment.
Those heroes brave and bold, where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? When rape had so depraved, took the daughters of our nation who forever they enslaved. What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold?
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry. Let me get back to the Men of England. That was again just me making a bit of an error there. Sorry about that.
The vile police and violence my squad, they all seemed quite amused, as at the hands of rape gangs our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all, but most of all blamed Tommy, who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Where are you, men of England? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
Well, there we go, guys. Okay, now listen, I'm gonna play some stuff from, and again, we've tried to have a laugh this morning. It's been serious, but we've tried to have a bit of a laugh. There's a syndrome that that basically I'm convinced it should be. I don't know whether it's actually a physical or a mental illness. And again, I'm not attacking anyone that's mentally ill, because I'm completely mad as a box of frogs myself. But this disease, this malady, this problem, it seems to be spreading, and it is quite serious. It is, and it's called loony lefty lady syndrome. Loony lefty lady syndrome, and it seems to affect lefty women of a certain age. And I'm going to just show you. I'm just going to show you a few examples of loony lefty lady syndrome that I've seen just in the last 24 hours. It seems to be spreading very, very quickly, very, very quickly. So let's just have a look at this again. That's what I was trying to do earlier when the song was on, when the song got so rudely interrupted by a loony lefty lady. But let's have a little look and see what's going on with these loony lefty ladies. Here's the first one. Okay. Well, actually, no. Here's the first one. In fact, no. I think this guy is the first man to have loony lefty lazy syndrome, because he's obviously something to do with Birmingham City Council. But there you go. So here's the first loony lefty ladies. There they are. Palestinian children just coming off the boat and getting a round of applause from all the loony lefty ladies as they walk in with their M16s on the back of their t-shirts. So that's the first loony lefty lady. Loony lefty lady 2. Here we go. So that's loony lefty lady number 2. This is loony Muslim lady. So she used to be in the Conservative Party, but I think she's a bit of a lefty loony lord. Well, she's a real lady. She's a real lady. This one here is a tranny loony lefty Muslim lady. Just let me know you can see that one. Yep. And then we're on to the next one. Well, he's not a lefty lady, but he's just a crazy man. And this one, I think this is where the disease has really developed, and it looks like there's literally no way that this loony lefty lady can be saved or helped. of course she can be saved. I shouldn't say that. But there's no way. It looks like she's in the final stages of loony lefty lady syndrome.
It is not illegal to be a migrant, and it is not illegal to be a human being. And the sooner this country, the United Kingdom, wakes up to what is around the corner, it's our only chance. So just read about it, look at it, check your sources, and realize that you are at a crossroads. We all are. We can choose Nazism, we can go back to 1936 Germany, or we can choose a path that brings us all together, that we are kind and compassionate, and that we support the vulnerable and the elderly and our children and the NHS workers, without whom none of us would be around. The late Majesty would be turning in her grave. I think I sort of get what Starmer's trying to do, but I feel really angry that man just can, everybody has to kowtow to him. He's a criminal. That's why I'm here. I couldn't be in London, so I came here. He is a criminal.
So there you have it. That is the latter stages of loony lefty lady. In fact, it should actually be. I would have said it'd be loony lefty Labour lady, but it's just loony lefty lady syndrome. And I mean, what do you do with that? That's what we're up against. That is absolutely what we're up against. And of course, the last stage of loony lefty Labour syndrome is suicidal empathy. And that's what these people are suffering from. They're suffering from suicidal empathy. They would rather destroy the country, flood it with migrants. That woman seriously thinks that the threat to this country is Donald Trump, not Abdul Asif and Mohammed from Somalia, Sudan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. She thinks that's the threat. She thinks the threat is coming from Donald Trump. Yeah, exactly, Sheila. With the grooming gangs. I mean, they're not brainwashed; they're brain dead. But loony lefty Labour syndrome, loony lefty Labour, loony lefty lady, Labour lady, whatever. That's what's got us into the mess that we're in. You know. And you know, think about how many of those women are school teachers, how many of those women are administrators in the NHS, how many of those women are active on councils, and they all think that they're highly educated, but they're in absolute darkness, and they're dragging our country into a very, very dark and dangerous place. So there you go. If you know anyone with loony lefty Labour lady syndrome, or loony lefty lady, because they could be in the Green Party, they're lurking in the Liberal Democrats, they're lurking in the Conservative Party, like Zayed of Arsi, who's also got the loony lefty Labour Muslim lady syndrome. It's crazy. This is what we're up against, guys. This is what we're up against. Do me a favor, share these videos. I don't think we did too bad this morning, considering I got up 15 minutes before the video started. And I think I'll have to do that every morning. I think it's better. It's better having a bit of a lie-in and having a bit more sleep so that my brain's fairly active. Yeah, I've got nearly 50,000 on Richard Inman. I want to get Counter Media to overtake all this. I've got loads of other projects I'm working on. I've got so much stuff going on. I'm going to be doing stuff with in fact, no, I'm not going to say that yet, because I'm going to wait until it happens before I say it. But there's going to be hopefully big announcements in the next little while. Get Behind Advance. Tommy's back in Advance. Paul Thorpe's back in Advance. Jeff Taylor's backing Advance. I'm backing Advance. Everybody with a brain's back in Advance. Let's do this, and let's cure loony lefty Labour lady, loony lefty liberal Labour lady syndrome. And whatever you do, if anybody comes from the Green Party, do you remember the Carlsberg advert with the trapdoor? What we need is a trapdoor for people from the Green Party, the Lib Dems, the Alliance Party, and all the other so-called progressive parties, because they're all communists. Just a trapdoor. So they come to the door and say, would you like to come in? They step inside, the trapdoor opens, and there's just a place where they all go. I think that would be a really good idea if anybody comes around canvassing from those parties. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to go. Pray for Danny. Pray for the country. Pray for tonight. 7 o'clock tonight, Marine Court Hotel. Bacon butties, tea and coffee. It's going to be great. It's going to be a really, really good night tonight. And I will see you all very, very soon. In fact, I'll see you probably over the weekend, because I think I'm going to do something with Paul tonight. Possibly, we'll see. Okay, see you later, guys. Should I play out with a song? Let's find a song to play.
Those heroes brave and bold, where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? When rape had so depraved, took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved. What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? And vice squad, they all seem quite amused, as at the hands of rape gangs our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all, but most of all blamed Tommy, who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here!